right, cool. Yeah, what'd your brother say? He said your bro said you figure out life low key.
Oh yeah, he's like, yo man, you really figured it out, and like, I don't even know. Like, he's like, how did you figure out life? I was like, yeah, I don't know. I think I got the gist of it, and I'm just continually like, I guess, getting a better view of the same pattern. But I feel like, yeah, like I got the idea. Like, we trade in breaths for other forms of energy, and like the breath is this immortal thing that we can always tap into to manifest things with, and it is us. It is what we are.
Yeah, like you're getting in what you get out, or you get out what you get in, but it's literal. And like all the details. Like it's just as far as all the details and then playing out at each step of creation.
Yeah, like
you could be aware of what's going on. It's like
like you've gone through the process so many times, where you just be like, yo, I know that I know my budget. My spiritual budget.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, cause that's kind of what I guess it came boiled down to for me. Like I don't have the balance. Like my checkbook ain't right. You know what I mean? Like for certain I can't cash certain checks.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, man, because I don't know, like I guess it's kind of coming down to like efficiency with your energy.
Yeah.
like how much energy you burning.
Like try to get some shit, like getting something done with the least amount of breaths, or with the most quality breaths that you can have. I guess that would be the least amount. The more quality they are,
yeah,
you're gonna have less breaths.
I mean, I just dove in. I was like, I guess because with the I Ching, it's talking about, like, I'm just starting the I Ching. I'm just getting into it. And there's, like, 3 things starting where it's, like, it starts with ease, and then the changing, and then the constantly unchanging, or the constant. Like, the point where things are most easy, and then where you can be in that change that's always changing, and then also with the constant with that. And you can kind of, like, easily be you in that. If that makes sense, you're being true to yourself.
Yeah, no, it really is like the 64 circumstances or the 64 arrangements of the same ingredients, and like it's just pretty much just like if you recognize the arrangement, then you can realize like your role or your position in a certain circumstance, and then just embody that role, and then in the process of embodiment, you're pretty much just maintaining peace throughout all the circumstances. Like, all right, here. I'm this, if you're doing a reading, or if you find yourself in a circumstance where you are, the embodiment of, because the odd lines are all yang, and then all the even lines are all yin. So you can see, like, when you're, because they look at it like, I guess people have it, a bunch of concepts and attachments to weak and strong.
Okay.
But, like, the different times, it's like, it's good to be a weak line in a weak place, or a strong line in a strong place. And then other times where they counterbalance, where you have weak lines in strong places, and then they're countered by a strong line in a weak place to balance it. And then you can kind of see it in people, because it's always like 6 degrees of separation or whatever, like that whole theory that nothing is separate and no person is separate. All people are at the most 6 degrees away. Like every human on earth is 6 people away. You know somebody that knows that person. It shouldn't take more than 6 people to know anybody on earth, whatever they say, 6 degrees of separation.
Really?
Yeah, that's a theory I've always,
Yeah.
And I feel like it's true in the sense that, like, kind of like in the sequence of the 1 creating the 2, and the 2 creating the 3, and 3 creating all things, and then the hexagram's being made up of 2 3s basically, or 4 3s in a sense, because you got the primary trigrams, the superior trigram and the inferior trigram, and then you got the nuclear trigrams in between. So it's really 4 sets of 3 in each hexagram, and then like you can kind of see it in life, like if you're in a store,
there's different variations of the same patterns.
Yeah. And then you're figuring out like, oh, I'm the weak line, or I'm the strong line right now, or it's you can see kind of like
you're able to adapt way better to whatever circumstance, knowing all these things.
It just becomes so obvious, like, I feel like the more that you go through the cycles and the more you see them, like, because in my personal experience, I feel like it kind of expresses itself in school and society, like, every 4 years, you got the Olympics, you got the presidential election, school's kind of in 4 years, or it kind of was for me, 4 years, and then we got to intermediate school or whatever, middle school, and then it was 4 years of that, and 4 years of high school, and 4 years of college.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like it's the same pattern, but just a more mature pattern, a more mature version, and like a more adult translation of the same pattern, the same events, the same emotions, the same scenarios. It's just more mature.
Yeah.
And it's just I can see when I need, when I'm being the weak line, or when I'm being the yang, or when I'm being the yin, and when I need to be, one or the other. When I'm out of place, when I gotta counter it and stuff, like it's definitely all there. And like I said, like you go to a store and there's 6 people in the store, or whatever it is, or you go into a room and there's 6 people in there. It's like this is a circumstance. This is a reading at some level. Like this, we're all embodying 6 lines, or whatever. You know what I mean? Or 3. You know what I mean? A lot of shit.
And you see the breaths that are being exchanged constantly.
Yeah. And then it's like so many patterns. Like in the I Ching, it says like if there's 3 people. One of them, if there's one person, they'll find a mate or another person. If there's 3 people, somebody will leave, and then that third person, it will be individual, and then they'll find somebody. And if another person attaches to them, they'll leave. And it's just funny, like how like the nature of 1 and 2, like the binary code, the way it goes, like and kind of just seeing like how everything finds its place. And the more you fight it, the more that you miss the pattern, I think.
Yeah, and that's like a huge opportunity missed for evolving your spirit. Yeah.
And applying it and expressing it in the world so other people can see the evolution and apply it in their life. Yeah, if you're distracting and ignoring, then so much gets missed, man, from like the most mundane circumstances, because it's just constantly like almost like a Rubik's cube. Like the I Ching is just like, click, now we're in joyousness. Click, now we're in the breakthrough period. Click, now we're in the whatever period it is. Like everything clicks into a different one of those scenarios, and it's just really like the lines just change, and it only just takes one line to change to make a whole new scenario. So like it's just funny how like the patterns go, and like how everything kind of goes to its own place. Like, and then you look at the hexagrams the same way you kind of look at the body or life. It's like heaven, man, earth. Like the 2 middle lines is man, the upper parts is heaven, and the bottom 2 lines are earth. And so you can look at it, the lines like the body too. Like the bottom lines are your feet and your legs. The middle lines are like your body, the trunk and the torso. And then the upper lines, the heaven lines, are your brain and neck, your ether chakra and stuff.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, it really is like an expression of the body. Like when things move, like when you recognize it, then you realize like what's happening in your body too. It's like the in and the out.
What's happening, where and why, and where that fits into the context. So there's no confusion.
Yeah.
There's no more confusion. Yeah. If you know these patterns that are inherent.
Yeah.
It's just natures. They're encoded.
It's like spiritual probability.
Damn.
I really feel like at some level, I feel like it's just like that, like God's version of probability, like working with these patterns. Like it can only go so many ways. Like it can go the different ways internally. It's just like recognizing the different like stations, I guess.
Yeah, the example that I just found was the dude. It was like a dream. They walked in a room and they saw like a table of salads. There's like maybe 10 salads, and one salad is like a master salad. Yeah. The master chef made the salad. Yeah. And then it's just like other salads, and he said a person was like walking up, taking things from each salad, making their own salad. But they couldn't recreate the master's salad because they couldn't see past what was on top. Like they were looking at the mat, they're trying to get it, but there's deeper things inside the actual creative process of what's going on. If you could open your mind to nature in that way, then these patterns get revealed. And you could start to engage and adapt to life like a river, and you just like, I gotta row harder, or row softer, or like to
not fight the stream, I guess.
And to just kind of have that, and then you can be true to yourself as nature in that way. Your character. I didn't know that I Ching was about your character. I thought
it was just like tarot cards or something. Right?
Yeah,
that's what I thought too. I was like, man, when I first picked it up, it was so basic, and I was so complex that I just I couldn't interface with it because I was not.
You're looking for the mysterious darkness, but it's like a plain simplicity.
Yeah.
Like this, like.
That's where like the true complex is, right? I feel like the simplest stuff be like how how this happened, how this manifest, like the simplest thing. It's like the most complex thing.
It's just the trigrams.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, like, and it's just like, this is pretty much, the trigrams are pretty much like, because they say when they were making it at the time, people weren't really speaking a written language in the area, in Asia, in that area. So instead of letters, it was just the 8 trigrams, and they just would use that as for any type of that was pretty much the alphabet.
Information.
Yeah, like you don't need a whole language. I mean, it is a whole language, in a sense. So it's like, since it's not just words, it's like where you get a concept that comes with this arrangement, that comes with a visual, and it is words that accompany it. And it's like it's actually more than an alphabet, even though it's less. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know, I feel like it's it's always a funny balance, I guess, with communication in general. But yeah, less always is more.
Yeah, I see nature. It's just speaking in geometry. It's just speaking in patterns, and it just seems like the most complete language.
It's
like,
unopinionated.
Yeah,
there's no opinion in that. There's no space for opinion. Like,
there's no minds. Like, so the I Ching and the Tao Te Ching, those being like really closely linked, to kind of see the philosophies and what's going on with it, but not for the literature, but just so I can like get out of like whatever spiritual hell I feel like I'm of limitation. If I feel like limited, all these things I never realized if I had like looked over it and seen how nature is working. But still, I'm not looking at the words. I'm really not trying to look at like exactly how it is. Like, how do I actually like extract this type of information to where it's relevant
to your life, right?
Yeah.
You can apply it in your daily.
Yeah.
Practically. Yeah, and I mean, and then it's like so many different translations. Like, I read a lot through the Richard Wilhelm and Carrie F. Bain's translation, and I think they did a great job, in some respects. But after reading Ronald Nefer Amin's translation and King Wynn's translation, I can see like you do need a bunch of different translations, kind of, because it's like if I was to study the I Ching all my life and just give you my opinion of my readings, it might not apply to you, like how maybe it could, and it's such an incredible pattern that I think it's gonna take probably the rest of my life to fully like be able to. I don't even know if I'll be able to ever fully grasp it, but I can just see what I need to see, I guess.
You become it.
Yeah.
You just realize yourself as it.
Yeah. I guess I gotta just continually see the patterns, and then it just becomes like you said, if you go through a bunch of progressions and regressions, then you get to that same point and like, oh, this 9 days in fasting, I know I've been here 19 times. On the 9th day, I do this. So now I know the answers to this test. So much more than like, even if I did know the answers, I might have had some doubt on the 4th or 5th time. Yeah. But now it's like, it's so obvious that like it's a non-decision, and it just happens. And it's not a decision really anymore. And it's just, you're just doing, not doing. You know what I mean? You're doing what you can't not do.
And that's easy. That looks easy. Like once when it's happening, you can still do stuff. Like it's still doing the most. I feel like once you are letting go and releasing that level, like I could see myself not thinking about stuff, and not thinking a day, but just everything just happens.
Like you're aligning with that universal will, to where like the body is kind of like on like one of those things, like when you're in the airport, you're standing on a thing and it moves you across. You know what I'm talking about? Like instead of walking, you just get on that thing. I feel like when you're like in alignment with the universal will, like your body's like that. Your universal will just pushes your body where it needs to go, what it needs to do, and it's not separate from your will, so you can trust it. It's just the universal will. You're like, all right, well, I'm in the right hands. I'm in my own hands, kind of.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever I do large amounts of psychedelics, that I get on that track with the universal will.
You're just synced up on it, yeah.
It just like forces me onto the track, Yeah, and then all my opinions go away.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
I mean, and I want to go deeper into that, just psychedelics specifically, like what's going on with alignment and like synchronizing and optimal timelines and things like that, because those are terms that I feel like I come into, like, because I feel like I'll take it and then I just get put onto exactly where I need to be.
Yeah.
Like in such a way that there's too much information to process, there's too much going on. I can see it and experience it, especially peaking. Like all this is happening. But then reality is just starting to rearrange just around the consciousness, it feels like. Yeah,
and I really feel like, I get like a lot. It's almost like a stimulus package every trip. I feel like it's like a spiritual stimulus package, or like anytime I fast, I guess, is like kind of like a stimulus package. But definitely on the trips, because it's like I get like, it's almost like a 1st and a 15th thing. I feel like I do my trip on a new moon or a full moon or whatever, and then I feel like I get a lot at once, but not enough that I can, you know what I mean, I can't process it all. It takes me like the rest of the cycle to really fully process it to where I'm integrating it into my life, what I've learned. And yeah, I feel like it's just dope. That's kind of the dope thing about psychedelics. Like, I feel like if you got any kind of patience, you know what I mean, like you can look at it like, all right, this is happening right now, but I've opened the door in a way where I'm gonna be getting stuff for the next following weeks, kind of up until the next trip.
And do shit to make sure you don't forget what happened.
Yeah.
I like that. That's like a thing that I found recently is like I make music a lot. Some people write, some people draw, other things like that. But we got profound experiences, like really profound experiences, but just forget what happens. And then the next time you actually take a psychedelic, you kind of got to go to that spot again, because it just kind of gets forgot.
Yeah.
And you know, really like advancing, like moving through so much experience. Like if we could just kind of keep about it in a way where we're really making sure it's progress happening. Like in a spiritual sense, like if we are getting on track and aligned with the universal will, and there were intentions with the psychedelics to get to wherever it is in God, you know, that makes sense. If it's just to get more clear, you know, just that more clarity, you know, with that. It's just to be able to see, and I look at it as like just building trips. Like you already kind of take it 1st and 15th, and then you continually build not even knowledge, but just your heart. And I feel like it's just kind of like your feelings, and then being able to move through life intuitively just based on how you feel, and then trust that and kind of get where it's almost like a craft in a vehicle. You're like able to move through, and then you're starting to like take off things. Maybe there's like a parachute on the back you didn't know. You like take the parachute off and you start to like maybe shape screws on the side, you know, and just get to where your experience of life can be so rapid. A lot of people get there and they want it to stop.
Yeah. The like, manifestation, you want to slow things. You want to like, it's crazy. Like it's almost like if you had $1 billion and then you know what I mean, you just start to solidify it into objects. I feel like it's kind of what happens with the energy, like when you do psychedelics and stuff, or when you get to that high point of attraction and manifestation, it'd be like, all right, I got all this shit, let me slow it down, let me solidify it into something to where I can interface with the energy in a slow way to where I can make it make sense to me. Like, well, you know, like whatever it is, like, even if it's, so if I get a bunch of energy and then I get like money and then buy a motorcycle, it's like, if I don't know, maybe if I just sat on that energy and like continued to cultivate it, the experiences that I got from the motorcycle are just kind of like the rudimentary, slower versions that, you know what I mean, if I had just sat patient, I would probably, you know what I mean, I'd have continued, it would have been more and more rapid, like you said, like you're just manifesting so fast to the point where you're not used to it, and you're just like, damn, how can I slow this information down? Let me put this information into a car that gets me a bunch of experiences, and in those experiences, I'll digest what I would have digested, but in a slower way, through that vehicle. Because it's like using the breath work kind of becomes a vehicle of manifestation, and then you're like manifesting other vehicles, like whether it be people or places or things. It's like, let me just slow this down, you know what I mean? So it's not all like inside me, and I can kind of like make it tangible so that like my personality and my person can digest it and adjust to, you know, all the information. You know, there's to be so much information.
It's infinite. It's vast.
Yeah, like I feel like I get impatient and then I turn it into human information. That's like the only way, you know what I mean? And it's just like a slower translation. Mm-hmm. You know, I get all this energy and it's like, damn, I could just sit on this and continue to cultivate, but I'm gonna just solidify it into human experiences, human vehicles, and human things. And I get the information still, just like in a way that my personality can digest it better. And like, I just feel like as I've gotten more seasoned, I don't like saying older, but like the more seasoned that I've gotten, I feel like it just becomes like to a point where I'm like, I want to just see how much yang I can really house, how much heat I can really house before I kind of like spoil myself in a sense. You know?
What do you mean by spoil?
Like to the victor goes the spoils, you know what I'm saying, kind of type of thing, like spoils of war, like, you know what I mean, like, you know, the things that you've accrued, like, you know what I mean, it's like the spoils in a sense, like, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of being like, if you know, how long can you go on juices until you have no needs, you have all the energy, and then
and then it's just like you want to share it.
Yeah.
I feel like that just becomes the issue, is like sharing things in a more intelligent way. Like that's what I feel like my problem has been, you know. But it's a nice challenge. I shouldn't call it a problem, but like it's the challenge. I feel like is getting to those points of attraction and then sharing it in a way that's peaceful for you, you know. And like, cause I've sacrificed my peace for the idea of being able to share something, and it's just like the shoe got to match. You know, people got to be ready to receive it. You know, it's like if I don't have a business or something going, and somebody gives me money, the money's just gonna go. You know what I mean? If I don't have a vehicle to put that money, that energy into, the money's gonna get ate away at. You know, if it's just sitting there, because the energy got to go somewhere. So it's just like, and then physically, I mean, if you leave money somewhere physically, the paper's gonna turn to mold.
Yeah.
So it's like the energy gotta go. Like you gotta get into something, or you're gonna have to keep it in a vehicle and just constantly cultivate. And then I guess you can just cash out whenever you're ready at different periods. But as long as you have like holistic vehicles, you know, whether they're people, there might be holistic vehicles, you know what I mean, that like they have their businesses and you can invest in them, or you have a personal thing that's a holistic vehicle to where you can share that energy, you know what I mean? And then with that energy comes like pretty much your perspective. You know, it's kind of like packaging your perspective, that energy. I feel like.
Yeah, I just feel the example of being in a room of people tripping, and then everyone's kind of in their own thing, and then you could have your own realizations, but then at some point it's like, oh, I gotta tell them.
Yeah.
It's like, but you could not, and you could just keep going in that experience and that's what he means by like just cultivating and keeping it going, because you could just keep staying in your own realization of building your own energy and getting to greater and greater realizations about what's happening as far as information, process information in real time, you know. That's like a psychedelic experience, but dang, like now it's like pretty unrelatable. It gets mad unrelatable.
It becomes like a book, whereas like I guess if you get like a spark, then you get like, oh, I got this paragraph of insight, and then it's like if I hold on to it, then it's like a book.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? And then it just requires more respect from the person digesting it. I guess that's how you would look at it. Like I could tell these people right now, I could tell them what they can absorb right now. And in that process of me talking, of me going outward, I'm not going to be receiving the same, because I'm. It's like the same thing with digestion. Like if I'm taking things in, I'm not going to be able to express the right way. Like if I ate food before this, or I had a smoothie before this, I wouldn't be able to talk the same, because I'm doing two at once, kind of taking in and giving out. But yeah, like if I get an insight or epiphany and I go right into trying to express it, it's kind of blocking the next thing coming. So
exactly.
Yeah, so it's like you gotta, I guess, look at it like, are these people, you know, worth that right now? Am I making them more dependent by giving this to them? You know, because sometimes you make people dependent.
It'd be like prematurely giving people information. It's just like,
yeah, and
it could be given more intelligently.
Yeah, and then sometimes when people get information, they could use it to talk themselves out of things, because they understand things conceptually but not actually.
Yeah.
And it's tough, you know what I mean? Because it's like plenty of things that I understand conceptually, but actually I haven't experienced them. So, you know, it feels like I have, because conceptually I can experience anything. But if I haven't actually gone through it, it is a problem, you know what I mean? Sometimes, like, having information, because it kind of can talk me out of things, or make me feel like I don't need to experience it.
Yeah, and that's just being caught in the mind, just caught in thought.
Yeah.
Like, just locked in thinking, in conceptual experience. Like you could live conceptually your whole life, right?
Yeah, and then pretty much, I think it's easier for males to do that. I feel like it's just like a yang thing to be like in your head. I think, you know what I mean. I think a lot of people have an issue with that, being overly yang. Probably, I heard that all the EMF radiation around us makes us more in our heads.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I just know that, yeah, like that. I feel like it's easier sometimes for males to be like in our heads and just live conceptually and live, because I think, you know, yang is light, so, you know, you have a lot of inner vision and you can see how like life could be, and I feel like it starts to interfere with how life really actually is.
Yeah.
And I feel like with females, it's easier for them to. It's like the same thing. Like they are in tune with, you know, the darkness and intuition and stuff like that a little bit more in the trance, to where like they feel things, and they like, I feel like we think how, and we imagine how life could or should be, or the supreme reality, and I feel like they feel the supreme reality. You know what I mean? And so the attachments kind of get in the way of that. You know what I mean? When they start to feel things that's contrary to that, then
Yeah, emotional attachments.
yeah, then they start behaving from a blind place, you know, an emotional place. Whereas dudes kind of sometimes they miss things because it's like you're really superimposing your idea over reality.
Yeah.
You know, but everybody does it though, male or female. I think I've seen either one. People do both. You know, behave overly irrational or overly rational. It's kind of the same. Like being overly rational is irrational. Kind of.
Yeah. It's a delusion. Like ultimately, still dealing with like concepts.
Yeah.
You know, like
to separate and make sense of things.
Yeah, and
in a human way.
It's an identification with the thought, like just with even just a voice. Like I feel like it just kind of gets stuck on there early on. This voice, this thinking, this is me.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the. It ain't. You know, yeah.
And I was gonna say, like, you know, and like I said, was saying before, man, like we really destroy that inner voice early on, and then the external voice is already kind of fucked. Like whether it be like raspy or whatever it is, it's like so many things, and then like just only speaking from the mask. You know, especially because like living conceptually, you're not really living in these other chakras, so like you're gonna speak from up here more, and then it just burns this out. Then you just start talking more raspy, you know, and it's just so that's just letting you know like that inner voice had already been going through that suppression before the external voice started to take the damage.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's crazy, you know what I mean, where it's at now, because yeah, people are it just basically got a bunch of echoes in their heads, and they identify with an echo. It's like what a voice is, just like an echo, like of consciousness, just the echo.
Yeah.
And then it's like searching for the echo, like trying to identify with it, and then you're never gonna be content.
I mean, and if you give these kids a bunch of like artificial echoes or artificial voices,
yeah,
that they're processing and stuff, then it's like,
and the people around them and other voices, like, you know, and all the music, everybody's on drugs. A lot of people's on drugs, like that they, you know, not even the best drugs. So it's like,
yeah.
you got those voices in your head too, all these other people.
Yeah.
You know, and like the Wai Ching was saying, right, like that people's perception is like usually taken from somebody else's compromised perception or from the sense organs that are just like randomly gathering as much information as they can make sense of at a random moment. It's not. And then people create whole concepts and whole identities off of that, off
based
of partial.
on other people's.
Yeah, like partial knowledge. I guess you could call it partial knowledge. I don't even know if you could call it that. Like,
Information, partial information.
Yeah.
It's because it's tough to distinguish between like information and knowledge, and like so it's definitely like a deeper part of like how the mind is even able to process. Like we're really limited in the language that we're using, so it seems like the language, like the I Ching, that's like a language to tap into, to where we can communicate with ourselves, you know, and
the
not have to deal, communicate, with the more ancient, original, part of ourselves instead of the more like timely, artificial voices, that aren't. There's just no depth.
Yeah, like anything in English is already like kind of a young thought. Like just because it's in English, just because of like the way that it, you know, is formed, is from a really youthful language. It's not an ancient language, so it's like it's a slang of German and Latin in one, and German and Latin are ultimately going to come back to the metanetter ultimately. Yeah. So it's just like so such a roundabout way to talk to yourself.
Yeah, like I could recognize myself in English, or recognize myself in the I Ching.
Yeah.
And what levels of consciousness, what states of consciousness would that like?
Yeah. I mean,
comparatively results in like how would I view myself and think, and be?
Yeah, I guess it's just one's gonna have more limits. Cause like, the more that you go back in written language, it's no vowels, so it's kind of like you can play with the language a lot more. Now that it's all like, you know, crystallized and it's so concrete. And it's also just like a slang broken language. it's got all these boundaries and barriers and all these exceptions in the rules of the language and all these things, just simply because of vowels.
Damn.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, and it just vowels really, because like you know the Hebrew alphabet's only 22 letters. You know, and it's just less is more. It really is like, it's just being able to have the freedom, the liberty, having liberty in language kind of really is what allows it to grow and allows people to like communicate.
People to grow.
Yeah.
And grow with each other and communicate like that.
Yeah, you can't even communicate certain concepts if the language is broken.
And you're just conceptual.
Yeah.
And then mismatched with the emotions and the rationality in relationships.
Yeah.
You know, it's just chaos.
Yeah. And like a lot, and the shit, like, because it's so dissected now. Because, a letter is just a sound. Like, if it's click language, people will just be, oh, that's just sounds and mumbo jumbo. But same thing as A being ah and at or ah or whatever, like, it's still the same as a sound that we've now, like, encased with an image, and so it really is just sounds. So, like, the more ancient the sound, the more it's just gonna reignite that part of you, that older part of you, and I feel like it just resonates, and it's not like it's just a lot less trying.
Well, that resonance, that ease and resonance, is the same shit in nature. That's what's being talked about in the I Ching.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah, everything's
like just like chameleon changing colors.
Yeah.
Like effortless, just
being in the environment.
yeah. Constantly changing and unchanging, like that.
Yeah, and then that's the thing too. Like I feel like the issue with people is that they want you to be who you are when they met them. When you met them, I feel like, and it's like that's so crazy for you to want me to be this person that has an expiration date. As soon as I go to sleep, I'm a different person. Like kind of in a sense, like the core is never changing, but like the person and the experiences and like every day you grow as a person. So like I mean, if you're living, if you're not living, then maybe not. Maybe you don't grow every day. I don't know, but I just feel like people want you to be who you were when you met, instead of like being okay with the mystery of like maybe the process of you becoming the best you will purge me of you, but I'm here for the ride. I feel like that's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like that's my perspective on it. If I meet a female, like I like if she was a finished product, then she's that's it. She's already plateaued. That's it. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like I'm ever gonna plateau. Like you know what I mean? Like as a being,
yeah. I
feel like there's no plateauing.
Yeah, especially if you're studying the I Ching.
Yeah, like
it's infinite. It's just infinite more that there is to get for like who you think you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to assume it's offensive, right? If you just meet somebody and they instantly like I love you, or that they say I like you instantly, it's like the same thing as like taking psychedelics and then 10 minutes go by and you're like, oh, you're like, oh, this is how it is.
Yeah.
Instead of like waiting to see how is this person actually, what is this actually, what's actually revealing itself to me, instead of just in the get-go saying like already saying, oh, I like this, or like or it's like this, because that's not even their whole person at all, and so you just disrespected that person by actually like doing that. So
just like making them the one shade that you or whatever you've been exposed to.
Yeah, and it's who they think you are, and so it's already a concept, and so to hold somebody to that is like, unless you're cool with that, it's like, because I feel like it's comfortable to be within that dynamic if that's all you've ever known, and like you have your friends around you and your family around you telling you you're this person, and like okay, but I don't feel like that type of person. And it's tough to deal with people, especially women. Like
the reinforcement makes it tough because there's so many people telling you reinforcing. That's why I wanted to leave where I was from. I just loved anonymity. Just being anonymous, no one knowing my name. It got for years not being called my name and not seeing people that feel entitled to me saying hello to them every fucking day. I feel like that brought me into a place where I was just totally anonymous, even to myself, to where I stopped even responding to people saying my name. I didn't identify with it. It just was like, oh, this is a word. I didn't even felt like any other word. And I feel like people kind of need to afford that experience for themselves, to where they just can be anonymous and just see, like, I don't know. I guess everybody's so like kind of into the lack thing with families and wanting attention. But I feel like if you know, it feels so good to be anonymous too. Like, I don't know, attention's nice, you know, family, love, and all that stuff's cool. But I feel like me going through process of just being completely anonymous, being in other countries, being anonymous, nobody owes me anything, I don't owe them anything. I don't have to say hello to them, they don't have to say hello to me. It brought it to where I'm just doing everything sincerely. If I feel like saying hello, then I'm doing it out of my own sincerity. It's not because of the routine, because I see you here at the corner store every day, John, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like that. So I feel like it doesn't kill it. It's not everything. It makes everything dry when it's like that. I feel like it just makes it all routine, and it's not. There's no feeling. There's no electricity in anything.
Yeah, I mean, in there too, you're giving yourself all the attention.
Just being by anonymous.
Yeah. Like that's just where you're at, and to be able to give yourself that type of attention without like some unconscious emotional craving, you know, like to really be connected with other people in like whatever emotional dynamics, like to have that type of attention with other people, to get away and be anonymous is a scary thought for a lot of people. I would imagine, like just because of for that reason and how attached we become to our names, even, you know, and like that's our sense of security in an ocean of question marks. You know, that like for most people it's like scary question marks too, because of just how much like programming and how much confusion and like covert, you know, psyops have been deployed on people just to keep them kind of like really dependent on one channel of information externally, you know, within the family dynamics, and that's sort of how it's just been chained through generations to kind of keep people locked into this like feeling we're together. This is like, you know what I mean, like, and so to step out of that. You know, and into that was like.
I always wonder, man. Like, you know, I guess there's no right or wrong in some respects, because like, if you really lived your whole life fully embodied God to where you didn't feel separate, and say you were a male and you had your children and you were, you know, you did the male thing, and your children were under attack and you were killed. I feel like if you lived your life fully like that, and like, your seed would be so strong that there would be no separation. I feel like they'd feel like not separate from you. I feel like they'd, like, you know, especially if you die honorably and something like that. Like, it's not like, you know, you just being a coward and dying. It's different. You know, I think that the kids can, like, they're not gonna feel separate. I feel like they're gonna feel like, it's, you know, I feel like it's different that way, where you can kind of trust the process. Like, because I guess that's inevitably gonna happen at some point to some male somewhere in the world. No matter how righteous they live, like that circumstance happens. You know what I mean? Like, it says in the I Ching in different periods, like, where it say, like, you know, death is likely in this circumstance if this happens. If somebody takes this role in this circumstance, death is likely. And, you know what I mean? So, like, and I think that it's, you know, when you live like that and you're really embodying God, that, like, you can have that faith that even if you don't raise your kids, it's like there's no separation to where they can raise themselves, because the fabric's the same. You know what I mean? Like, you've poured yourself into them. And so, like, I think, it's funny, like, when I look at it, like, you know, as far, you really just need to raise yourself fully. Your body, raise your consciousness or whatever fully. And then, I don't know what you could do that would really be wrong after that. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think that you would get someone pregnant and just skip out. Even though, like, I wonder, like, you know, if that just adds to the mystery. Is that the worst thing? Is that the most wrong thing? If it's like, who knows the circumstance, you know?
I feel like it's wrong. Like, inherently, me wanting to skip out on having a kid.
That feels wrong.
I feel like, I feel like nature's like mad at me or something.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I wouldn't do it.
Though, like,
if I have a choice, I wouldn't do it.
And I don't even think it's a bad thing to be of the people. Like, I feel like that was sort of like the line I was drawing. It's like, oh, you could be of the people and give a certain type of attention to yourself and live a full life like that, or you could be of anonymity. Yeah. And like give yourself attention on that level, and still on both levels you're God. You could realize yourself as God, and like and so how that works out in those scenarios, it really, who's to say? Yeah. You know what was most like,
who's a better service to the species?
Yeah.
I mean, the shamans don't live amongst the people, right? I mean, they always live separately by themselves. So it's almost like the people need someone to live separately by themselves, and the shaman needs the people. Like they need each other. Like kind of, it's almost like
Just playing roles.
yeah, like the tiger needs to eat the dead and the dying or the weak, and the herd needs to move faster, so they need the dead and the dying and the weak to die. So it kind of like makes sense. It all makes sense like in that way.
And there's more levels to it, likely, like all layered on top of what's going on. Like it's happening, you know, all at once. And so it's cool to see it all play it out.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, you know, because I mean, it's happened. It's here. People are like having kids and like skipping out or whatever. You know, it's like it's kind of a common thing. And I don't think it should be as common, but I guess it always existed if it exists, just maybe not this often. And like I just wonder, like, you know, it's at some level it's made some really incredible folks. So it's like given a curse, like with everything. You know what I mean? Sometimes like, you know, you see people that don't have fathers or maybe were orphans. And then they're just mad inspirational for your life. You're like, damn, man, you know, you did this. Still, without this kind of support, you know, you put it together for yourself another way. And so sometimes I'd be like, I don't know. I guess maybe certain people, certain souls are just built for certain experiences. That's the experience they need. I don't know, but it's funny, like with that. That's the only thing. Like I would definitely love to just actually go through it, be present, have to be a family man and all that shit. That would be cool, but at the same time, I do look at it like, man, there's a lot of people that I admire that didn't have a father, like even my mom. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, like it's kind of crazy that you don't know somebody that close to you, and then you know, but you still became great. So it's like a weird thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems like no matter what, it's just gonna be a potential.
Yeah.
For any scenario, best case to worst case, but even those are they different?
Yeah.
Like I don't think like just as much as poison and medicine are they different? Yeah, it's not. There's no difference between the two.
Yeah.
Like on that, and so it's just these. I feel like to be able to sit and contemplate with these truths, being connected to nature like that, you know, will really like get into another level of being for everyone. So we don't have to like put our nervous system through so much, just being locked in thought and in confusion.
Yeah.
You know, so so much value there.
Yeah.
And relief, you know, just to keep like breathing into nature like that, and then find that type of power. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like people that have gone through that type of stuff and came out on the other side and they're stronger than a lot of other people. I mean, to me, it's really inspiring, you know. And it just sucks, though, I guess, when it goes the other way. When people just feel like, you know, I don't have a family, I don't have this, and I'm never gonna be shit. You know, when that happens, then that sucks. You know what I mean? That's. And
people fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
And I could see the older I get too, the more I see that. Like it really, no one's really looking out. Like for a lot of people, they're just not getting looked out for, and there's no way to even communicate with some people that's not communicate with them, but they can't communicate with themselves. So it's like to even be able to talk to others when you can't
like
talk to yourself.
Spiritually autistic.
Yeah, and it's just getting forgotten, and it's like, but no resourcefulness, you know, is like, and then in environments where it's just, you know, it's just getting piled on, like through in the physiology, as far as just all, you know.
And it's just tough, man, because it really is calibers of humans. You know, as much as I don't want to like be that way, it is though, and it's just like the continuity thing. Like I was saying, like, you know, you got all the different primates, and it's like different calibers. You know what I mean? It's like the same thing with people. Like, it's like different calibers of people. Like, and I always meet people, and they might be younger than me, and like I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, because if they tell me they're 25 or whatever, I'll be like, oh, at 25 I had did this and I was doing this.
Yeah, you be.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, you're probably not the biggest slouch in the world. Right? I be giving them a lot of credit that maybe they shouldn't be getting. Yeah. But like, I feel like it's tough, because I constantly look at people like I look at myself, and I'm always like, man, I was doing this by this time. I had this by this time. I had went through these hardships by this time, and so sometimes I'm harder on people, or I'm too nice to people, because I'm treating them like I treat myself. I expect me from them.
And you're expecting already.
Yeah,
it's just like in a world we're dealing with iPhone babies.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah,
it's so like.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's what my boy said. Yeah, he's like, yo, man, it doesn't matter. if they're a certain age and their first phone was an iPhone, you'll never mesh with them. And I was like, damn, I guess that's real shit. Like, at some level, it would be tough. Like, I have to wait, like, 15 years.
For real, man.
They got to go through the Saturn returns, I feel like, as far as the opposite sex.
Yeah.
As far as the opposite sex, I feel like, at this point, I'm like, it's just too much personality that needs to get whittled away. And a Saturn return does that. You know what I mean? It just destroys personality. You know what I mean? Like, personality is what really is obstructing the presence and God. You know what I mean? Like,
the self.
Yeah. You know what I mean? The personality is really in the way. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's nice because it's just taking the brunt of things. It's absorbing a lot of the things in society. So people just live in it because it's just like, it's taking the brunt and it's not. They're trying to protect their essence with the personality.
Yeah.
You know, and so like, it's wild how that happens, man. Like how people get addicted to their own personality. And like, they fill in all the gaps with personality. You know what I mean? I was doing that myself. Like,
and what the personality likes, the food it likes.
Yeah, and I just, I was just like really cashing checks with that thing. I was just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, I'll be in a circumstance where, like, I know, like, things are tough or weird or, you know, it's a lot of adversity, but I know, like, I just have to just keep that personality rolling and fill these gaps with the personality to smooth everything
There's
out.
a fear of death behind that.
Yeah. Yeah. The personality doesn't want to die.
Yeah, no. So anything it can do to make sure it doesn't get discovered as an obstruction to the real power. Man.
I just get so exhausted from performing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
that's when it's obvious.
Yeah, I know.
Stop.
Yeah, and my breath gets shallow. That's why I'm saying thoughts and feelings, they really don't mean shit. It's just your breath.
How you feel?
Yeah, like my breath, as soon as it gets shallow, I'm like, all right, I gotta change. Something gotta change. Like, you know what I mean? And like, it really is like the more I'm performing, I'm not being, then I'm tired, and then I just make poor decisions, and then I hate myself, or I hate me. It's like impossible to hate myself, but I hate me at that point, the personality.
Yeah.
And then I resent everybody around me because I'm just tired. You know what I mean? From performing, and I'm mad that I ever started performing.
Yeah, and it's just so unnatural. Like, you know, it's just nature doesn't struggle. It's not agitated.
Yeah.
You know, any of that. It's just so to see that.
It's constantly just auto-correcting itself.
No person, no character. It's just unstructured.
Yeah.
No attitude. Like, well, you know, indifferent though. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah, bro. I think the personality is a dope thing. We communicate through it and everything, but it really is the number one obstruction to self-realization.
Yeah.
And the Saturn return for me, you know, I can't talk about other people. I've observed other people's Saturn returns, and a lot of people go through it so ignorantly that they just think it's hard times or something.
Like, yeah, and then you get jaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just resist it.
And I think that's what life is.
Like, yeah, and then that it's like as soon as but the brain stops developing, and then it's just like closed account to reality. Unless you're taking a bunch of psychedelics, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, it just gets set there.
It's like either one. It's like you need the contrast from psychedelics, or you need to just be sober and on the breath. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's the in the middle. That in between shit is where we get fucked up. You know what I mean? Like if you drink a little bit, smoke a little bit, like you should do this shit to the max. Kind of like, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like
we extremists.
Yeah.
They're extremists, so it's like it's different.
Yeah, I'm on the fringe.
Yeah, man.
But like I just feel like you know, they're kind of the same. Like the contrast, like when I be on 8 to 9 hours of breath work, the contrast from that to doing a psychedelic isn't far enough to where I feel like I'm wasting my money on psychedelics. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I need to create some personality and toxicity at some level to like have a breakthrough with the psychedelics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point, in the beginning, it wasn't like that. I didn't recognize that. It was just what it was. Things were just happening.
Yeah.
But now I feel like it's just not. They're not far away. Like everything becomes lucid and vibrant and everything once you get into 8, 9 hours of breath work in a single day. To where, you know, you start to kind of see them streamers and all that stuff in the air a little bit. It's not that far. It's not the same. Don't get me wrong. It's not the same as being on psychedelics. It's just not far enough to where you would get that like kind of that sharp contrast where you're like, oh shit, mad clarity. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It feels almost like extra.
If you stayed with it for like 25, 30 years, probably.
Yeah.
Like only the breath and the psychedelics just kind of
Yeah.
Just be taking you there.
And just plot them better. Like if I just plotted them in a better way where I wasn't like overdoing them. Not that I wouldn't do heroic doses, but just not as often. Like, you know what I mean? Like instead of multiple times a month, just once a month or once every other month. I feel like then it would just balance out. I would just get everything all at once. Like I would understand that I wouldn't need as many dreams to process it and get through it, and as many sessions to get through it. But, you know, I'm cool where it's at now. It's not bad.
I see the gradual, you know, from a worldly personality, you just graduate to a divine presence.
Yeah, just,
you know,
just primal as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just the access point seems to be the ease, just like no effort. And then, you know, to start to shift that point of like engagement of reality just from, you know, thinking to just breathing.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, it's almost like the example I heard is like a dog. Like you wouldn't take like a street dog, like a dog off the street to like the royal party. Or like, it's sort of like the personality just being a rough cut stone. You gotta like get all the facets and choose all those facets so you can go to that royal party wherever you know wherever because you wouldn't bring it there, like you wouldn't bring that person there.
Yeah.
So and it's like I really do feel like there's some master club or some shit people be at. It's just about like, oh, okay, you see now, come on in.
Yeah.
You like welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I mean, it's like the Jay-Z thing when he was like, you know, they say it's not many of us, but less is more. It's plenty of us. I think it's true. I think, you know, once you get to that point, then it's just like, I'd rather have presence with one person or a few people than have the acknowledgement of a million people that I don't really respect them. They don't respect themselves.
Yeah.
You know? And it's a wild thing how, like, with fame and then the root of it being famine and everything, same thing with, like, family. It's just, like, hunger, like, starving for attention. It's wild, like, how I feel like with everything, like, when you want the recognition from your peers or the people that you admire, and it's like, I gotta get a million people to follow me that I don't admire, take that energy, create a project out of that energy, and use that to attract the recognition from the people that are my peers and that I admire.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's, from my experience, I feel like that's what I've done in an unconscious way. You know what I mean? But now I'm kind of looking at it like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Because, like, the biggest fans to me are not the people consuming. Those are not the biggest fans. The biggest fans are the people on the stage, you know what I mean, or on the court or on the field. They were such a fanatic about it, that they wanted to do it. They wanted to embody it. I feel like the biggest fan of basketball is Michael Jordan or whoever, you know what I mean, whoever that did it. You know, if you're the biggest fan of rap, you know, whoever the biggest rappers are. Yeah. That's the biggest fan, really. You know, and I feel like the other people are just really consumers. Like I kind of don't call them fans, because if they were real fans, they would respect it more. They would respect themselves. It'd be different. Because I feel like actual fans respect whatever the craft is. Like if you're a blacksmith or whatever it is, like, you know, you're like, damn, I respect the craft. Like I want to, you know, apply this to my life. You know, and I think those is the real fans. I don't think that the fans are the consumer. I think they're just consumers.
Yeah, I mean, and then you're saying it's calibers too.
Yeah.
And the word that I wanted to share with that is just essence. You know, like, it just seems like calibers of potency in the essence. Like, it's nothing specific or anything conceptual other than like, oh, that energy and how potent that unique energy is behind whatever that person, because they had to realize themselves to a degree as an authentic person to just actually get it to where, like, okay, now they can, like, start to wield their essence in their craft, you know, like, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, it's like to ground and embody something that immense, like, it takes a lot of calm, and like the only way that you could be calm is through experiences and endurance. I feel like, you know, that's what got me onto the whole vegan thing. I mean, I met this woman. I mean, a lot of shit got me into it conceptually, but actually I met the woman and she was just so calm, and that's what did it for me. It wasn't like how she looked. I mean, her skin looked amazing. She was like 70. Her skin looked better than mine, and like I just feel like the calm is like comes with the potency, because there's no way that you can store energy if you're not calm.
Yeah,
you can't.
It's frenetic. It's just like
You're not even gonna. It's just gonna be all over.
You're gonna lose it.
Yeah. And it's just it's just that calm that would the calmness is the attraction. I feel like, because that's how it be. Like you get still, and then the epiphanies just come.
Yeah.
I feel like the
The
chaos.
dust settles.
Yeah, like the chaos comes to the stillness, and then you can make sense of it. But like if you're just chaos, then everything's just chaos, and then you're just chasing stillness, kind of.
And it seems still. It would seem still. Like your stillness is when things are moving.
Yeah.
In chaos.
Yeah.
You
At
know?
that point, yeah, because that's home to you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. Like you reach for the power. That's how you lost it, and then it's like
Yeah.
you're stuck there.
It's like you're in a reclined position reaching or something, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so keying into that, I'll be doing that a lot and just studying the I Ching. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Like
Excited, man.
every day, man. I feel like I gotta read at least one chapter or review something, man. Cause it's like, it's just I always get something out of it, or just some type of reminder. You know what I mean? And then like I was saying, like there's so many versions that you could pick up any of them and get different insight. Like the Tao Te Ching, like you said, you pick up one. It's like dozens of translations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I've never read. So I know that I could pick up any. Every time I get a new, different Tao Te Ching, I'm like, oh shit, there's new insight on the same thing. Like,
Yeah, it's another data point, and you're just
Yeah.
getting clearer resolution.
yeah,
Just a more clear picture
yeah.
of the truth.
How many ways can you say the same thing in different ways?
And what does that do to your mind? Like
Yeah,
perceiving it like that. And that's the multiple disciplinary approach.
yeah.
That's how it could be. It's just mad effective. Like,
Yeah.
It's just like
It's that full, well-rounded thing. Like, you know what I mean? When you're
Yeah.
well-rounded like that, then you communicate, like you said, communicate with yourself fully. And then it's just tough. Yeah, you meet people that aren't fully communicating with themselves, and it's like, you can hide so much more, I feel like. Like, when I meet people that they're not really inhabiting the upper endocrine system in a conscious way. They're not controlling any of this shit. Any of the upper endocrine system, they're not participating in it actively at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, they only live from the navel down. And so, like, it's tough to communicate. I know that it's like they're looking out of a hole almost. They're looking up at life from a hole. And I know they're only seeing me like that. Like, and I feel like I can hide in myself. Like, I meet people.
You can hide in the upper ones.
Yeah, I can
they
just,
won't even
yeah,
notice.
Yeah, they don't even know that, like, my consciousness is up here. This is totally like you're talking to the automaton me, the navel down me. Like, it's just like that's all I'm greeting you with.
Yeah.
None of these upper parts are being met, and I can just hide in them. You know what I mean?
You don't even need to hide. You're just kind of not being seen.
Yeah.
You can kind of just chill there. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And then some people flux. And then, so I feel like, you know, I guess it creates less space for you to hide, but I don't know, man. I haven't really met anybody that's calm, that's like steady. Opposite sex, I mean. Like, you know what I mean? Because, I don't know. I feel like all males, like, we're males. You know what I mean? We could get to, you know, I don't know. I feel like any male, if we're around each other and we really have the same values, we'll come to the same conclusions. You know what I mean? But with the opposite sex, I have not seen, you know, full inhabitation unless, like, they're already, like, a mother that has, like, went through motherhood and got back in shape.
Got her yoga teacher
Yeah,
certification.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
it'd be all that to get all them strands or whatever, right? And all that DNA, like, for it to communicate with itself. Them experiences that bring that. And it's just tough, like, because I don't, it's tough to find that calm in someone that is 29, that went through their Saturn return, and they, like, actively went through it, and they are, you know, preparing themselves for greater mergers, greater unifications. Like, it's in the Wild Ching, right? Is it over here?
Yeah.
Because it was saying, like, every part of the body, every body is, like, craving the merger of yin and yang. Like, every part of us wants to merge.
Do you see the ultimate purpose? Like, I feel like to be ignorant of the ultimate purpose and to hide in the minutia, or just petty things, or just to have set life goals no further than this lifetime.
Yeah.
When you have, you know what I mean? Like, when you have like a greater merger, that's sort of where things, every step you take, you're already there. You're
never off the path.
Yeah, like you're on your way there, but act consciously though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, like who's.
I mean, yeah, like if your goals are not like, because like if you're not looking at the body as like a platform to cultivate your spirituality and your divinity,
To springboard to the next.
yeah, if you're not looking at it like that, then your goals can only be selfish. I feel like what else do you got? It's all gonna be part of the linear attitude, right?
Yeah.
Like, and nothing's gonna be quantum.
And then it just eats itself though.
Yeah.
Like over time, like if it's just selfish and then feeding the selfishness with that reality, with more breathing more life into that, accruing things. They were really ultimately meaningless in the context of actually like merging with creation.
And it's just like, and they just like solidify all the spirit, and then it just gets stuck. It's like stuck spirit, like in a sense, like.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go into places, and you can see like the efforts of people and all the things that like whatever it is a park or whatever, or a town, you can see like the efforts that people put into manifesting this dense spirit, and it's like damn, like all like the Great Wall of China. I'm like damn, mad people's spirit is like stuck in this. In a lot of ways, like you know what I mean, like it's really they've given it to.
Is that what happens when you bury bones too? When bones get buried?
I've heard pharaohs say stuff like if the bones are intact and like because like the mummification thing that you can regenerate from bones. I don't know. It seems like a stretch, but he does things that I've never been able to do. So maybe it's true. I don't know. Maybe he's on to something. But.
I just see spirits trapped here. Like if they didn't get cremated or something. I've heard that conversation. Like like oh dang, like you be burying bodies in boxes, like to bury a body in a box
and not let it decompose.
Yeah,
because I've heard that theory too. Like you can't reincarnate until you're fully decomposed.
Yeah, it's just like so I can see people's efforts caught up in structures and buildings that they spent their whole essence on.
Yeah, now that building got to get completely demolished before they can fully embody something.
Yeah, process again, or it could just be part of them here, and then other parts, kind of in other bodies, I guess, like lesser bodies, I guess, like animals or whatever.
Just fragmented all over and not really embodying, and then they're all just gonna be just driven. They're not gonna be moving off of divine alignment. It's wild, man. Yeah, like that thing. I don't know if you ever seen that movie As Above, So Below. It's like they were in the cadavers. They were in like the tombs in like France, I think. It's like a city beneath Paris that's like all tombs. I forget what they call that. And it's like
catacombs.
Catacombs, yeah. And so they were down there, and it was like they just kept going deeper and deeper, and they had to do like different puzzles and stuff. And then they got to a point where it was this guy that was completely preserved because there was no air where his body was. He was like thousands of years old. His body was just there, I guess, like ready to regenerate. And I wonder if that's how they were doing it with the tombs, with the mummies and stuff.
With the souls.
And then you just come back whenever you feel like regenerating, and then you just here with a bunch of jewels and everything. Your Book of the Dead is with you. You just, because they didn't take the heart out. So I guess if you have your heart and your bones, your marrow, and you died peacefully, and everything was done correctly, maybe you can just come back. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. And I remember hearing about Adullah Broth, who's like the god that regulates reincarnation. You know what I mean? Supposedly. I remember Bobby Hemmett saying that's why the Hindus cremate, because they wanted to come back. They wanted to forget as much as possible. They wanted to get back, kind of bypass Adullah Broth.
Okay.
So they could come back with more of themselves.
Okay.
And so they cremated, so it's all done right now, and then you come back, I guess, instead of that whole process of like 150 years or 200 years into your bones of dust.
Yeah, so which system you a part of then? Like, is it Kemetan, Dravidian?
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. I don't know.
So what's the practice here? Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, because I guess it does make sense to me at some level. Like, you come in one, you leave in one. So that kind of the mummification process, pulling their brains out and all that stuff, kind of done. I don't know. I don't know if they were doing that in pre-dynastic Egypt though. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's wild.
I mean, you've seen the pictures of like it's kind of like a snake inside of like a glass tube. You know what I'm talking about? They're like in a room. It's like legit like a they got souls in bottles, and then they're just like, and then there's mummies like there, but there's some form. It's not necromancy, but that's what word is gonna get slapped on there like.
But love for the dead like that.
Well, I mean, to engage. Okay, because I had it mixed up. There's that's necrophilia.
Yeah.
But necromancy is like geomancy, and it's like
a conceptual thing.
Well, you're working with the dead bodies. Just like geomancy, you're working with the earth, like with ley lines and like other structures, putting structures on it to like control the energy on the earth. Same thing so that's geomancy. So necromancy is like probably doing different things with bodies to command energy through
feng shui.
Like feng shui with souls and bodies.
Yeah.
To get them placed, to arrange in those arrangements. But for what? So they can do what? I don't know.
It means something. It gotta mean something, because I know in feng shui that you only put the ancestors, I think it's in the east. But you can only have the pictures of them in the east part of your house, or one direction, cardinal direction in the house. It's like the ancestors the pictures of them can only be there. It's disrespectful to put them in other places. Yeah. So I wonder if that would fall in line.
It's an arrangement. It feels like it's like they're just arranging spirits like that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see people start walking around, or it's just a metaphor for just taking shrooms and dying inside and then being reborn.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm cool with the rudimentary, I guess. The just decay. Once I'm dead, I'm not gonna have any human opinions about my body anyway. So it's not gonna really matter. Like once my body's dead, the consciousness is just gonna move forward and not have no attachment.
Just like a dream.
Yeah.
It's a standard dream.
Yeah.
Just another one. Yeah.
You wake up in dreams, and you be like concerned about whatever the fuck you're concerned about in that dream. So wild, I guess it's your value system there. You know what I mean? And you just haven't come to realize it. It's just more of an animal value system, I guess, if it's not conscious.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would be more of an animal or more of a spirit. Like just depend on the beliefs when you die.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean.
Animus.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, you was reading that, right? The anima, right? The anima versus the animus, right? And the golden flower, right? And yeah, it's crazy. Anima is like animam. So funny.
Yeah.
And it's wild, man. The Matrix thing. I feel like when you look into if you're looking into the Eastern philosophies, a lot of people are gonna look at it like this is patriarchal, this is anti-woman, But they're looking at it more so like everybody is both. And the feminine, the superior needs the inferior, just like the inferior needs the superior.
Yeah, they're both.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying.
Strength needs devotion, devotion needs strength. And I don't know, it's inside of you. Any individual has those things, and then the more that you can link up and balance those things with other people that have those things, then it's just pleasure shared, pleasure doubled.
It's probably exponential. It's not even double. It's like exponential.
Yeah, you can't even quantify it probably.
Yeah, no.
It's just like just rapid growth and I feel just evolution. Just evolution. Evolution is greater balance.
Well, cool. I'm with it. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I know it's probably enough for it.
It's it's an hour, and I don't know how much memories left, so.
Yeah, I don't want to kill it. Yeah.
For sure, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, each chain.
Episode 1.